Hello.
Oh,
How are you, Nick?
still breathing. Enrollment's back on. We're all back in work. Woo! It's great.
I wasn't sure if you were going to make it or not.
I was supposed to finish till 7, but my boss let me go early. But please excuse me, I've literally just got out of the shower.
Oh, it's all right. Literally, I've got no makeup on. I've been running around all day, trying to do school uniform.
Oh, the joy! I don't miss it. I don't miss, especially secondary school.
Explain this one to me. So we went to get the school uniform 2 weeks ago. They had nothing in stock in the shop, so we ordered it and it's not arrived. And she goes to school tomorrow.
Really? Oh, that's surprising because a lot aren't going back till Monday.
She's in tomorrow, Friday, and then properly starting on Monday. Tasha starts Friday.
They can't do anything if the uniform's not come in. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
delivery drivers. We're missing delivery drivers.
It's a specialist uniform shop. You think they would have enough uniform at going back to school time?
Well, I honestly think it's probably to do with lorry drive.
Hi, Lily. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Your hair's looking fabulous.
Well, let me tell you, this is unwashed hair that was then re-dried and straightened because me and the hubby went out kind of last minute. It was our anniversary yesterday.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you. We couldn't get a sitter, so we did it tonight. But then I said to him, I got to be back for 8. So we just nipped out quick. So
your anniversary dinner short.
Well, no, we didn't cut it short. I filled my face. I'm in pain. I've eaten that much food. And it worked out well because my parents, they were bringing Louis back anyway. And they live about 50 minutes away from here. So they wouldn't have wanted to stay late anyway. So we went out early. It suits us down to the ground.
Oh, well, thank you very much for coming on tonight.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I wouldn't your anniversary.
Oh, no. To be honest, we nearly didn't bother. Like, I'm amazed we even remembered. We're both useless when it comes to dates. And over the years, I've completely forgotten some years. Other years, I thought it was the 29th, and then he's had to remind me that it was the 30th. And so like this year, I said to him, oh, are we doing cards? He was like, nah. I was like, no, okay. I didn't think so, but you don't want to be the one that didn't do a card when the other one's done it. Do you know what I mean? But
so what was your first dance song?
Well, we had what's it called? Go the Distance by Michael Bolton from Hercules.
Oh, I love that. I love Hercules. It's one of my favorite movies.
Well, I'd written an arrangement for the choir anyway that year. And for both of us, it was our second marriage. And I loved that it wasn't a lovey-dovey, love is wonderful and all that bullshit. It was like, this is going to be really fucking hard, but I think we're going to make it if we stick together. Do you know what I mean? It's way more realistic. And the whole choir were there and they all sang it while we were dancing. It was amazing. It was such a good wedding. So good.
Oh, you look.
I know you would say that
on your photos.
Well, yeah. Do you know what? It was low budget, really. The second time round, I think you just don't bother with all the crap that doesn't matter. And we just wanted all our favorite people to have a really good party, basically. And so my dress cost me less than 200 quid. I got it it was in a sale and it was a prototype. So the bridal shop used to make their own dresses. And it was basically a prototype they'd made up for, I guess they were thinking of making a line of it, but it never got made. So it was a one of a kind dress. And I went in, I was so poorly. I'd had the flu, I looked like shit. And I only went in because my friend was going to make my dress. And she said, go and try some on so that you know the style and like the material that you want and give me some ideas and then I'll make it. So I'd gone in to do that and I tried a few on and I was like, kind of fitted ones. There was one that was all Swarovski crystal, which looked beautiful. But when I got it on, it was uncomfortable and itchy. And I was like, nah. And then just as I was leaving, I saw the bridesmaids dresses and I thought, well, I might try some of those on because this is my second time round. I knew I didn't want a big princess gown because I'd done that the first time. So I was like, I'll try one of them, like a really nice evening gown might just be what I need. And this was on the end in a bag. And I spotted it because it looked olive green. And I was like, what's that? It looks weird. And they said, oh, it's a prototype. And it basically had this material on it that flipped a bit like oil does. So in certain lights, it looked blue, but in other lights, it looked olive. And then in other lights, it was kind of a grey gunmetal colour. And it sounds horrendous, but it was really pretty. And then it had like diamond white kind of trim, top and bottom, with like all the sparkles on. But I loved it. It was so unusual. And it wasn't like, it was kind of traditional in a way, but not like, I've never seen another dress like it. And I would still wear that dress. If I was getting married today, I would still want to wear that dress, which I thought was, you know, that's a sign you've got the right one, I think, when 12 years later, you still like it.
And the hubby.
So yeah. And the hubby, yeah.
I saw your post yesterday and I was like, because you said you still give me butterflies, and I was like, that's what I want.
Yeah. I don't know that I do for him, but he does for me.
Sure you do.
He's not a butterfly kind of person, but I still like, if I see his taxi on the road, I still go, like I used to. It's stupid, really. Crazy times.
Oh.
It's definitely a soul connection.
Oh.
For sure.
Oh, you're in the hot seat tonight, Lilli. I think, Nick, have you got loads of questions for Lilli?
Not loads. No.
But you've got us. So the thing is, it doesn't just have to be about intuitive singing. It can be about anything spirituality.
Well,
anything, full stop, I'm going to say.
Ask us anything.
With the songs, what I've done, well, and this might be the totally wrong thing to do, but I don't know. So it's really weird when you're not thinking about songs. You don't realise how much they stay in your head until you start going, right, I need to keep a record of what stays in my head, see when it resonates, see what. So there's some songs that have stuck in my head that I've still not worked out why they were there. But what I have actually done is I've got playlists of songs I need to play when I'm feeling really down in the dumps, because I was looking at how they were making me feel when they were playing. There's some songs I do know why, but then it raises all the issues, right? So you still haven't really dealt with that, and you still haven't really dealt with that, and wow, you thought you dealt with that, but you really haven't dealt with that. Unless I'm just thinking too much into it. But I've also got a playlist of when I'm a little too hyper, just to calm me down a bit. And when I play them, the change in my mindset and how I feel has just been, wow, it's been a bit mind-blowing, to be honest. Because although I've always been into music, I didn't realise how much they affect you, just a song here and a song there. So I've got I need to cheer up list. I've got an I need to calm down list.
I feel like I need that list. I don't have an I need to calm down list. I definitely need to take that advice, I think.
I can add that into the workbook, actually. That's really helpful. I can put that, we can have some pages of lists like that in the workbook. So that'd be good. Do you not find it really weird though, that like you can listen to one song and it can give you multiple emotions? Like sometimes I can listen to a song and it can make me really happy, and then sometimes the same song can make me cry as well. I find that totally weird.
Yeah. So I think it's important to say that not every single song is going to have a deep, profound reason that it's showing up. Sometimes it's just on the radio. Do you know what I mean? Like the song that was stuck in my head earlier was a song about noodles, because my little girl was watching Word Party and they sing a song about noodles, and that got stuck in my head. So that, you know, there are songs that are just going to be stuck in your head because they've got a good hook, and it just is like earworm, it just gets in there. But I think when it's important to pay attention is when it seems to be in your head and you don't know why. Like that noodle song, there was no profound reason why it was in my head other than she's played it on repeat and it's just like ingrained in my brain. So I'm not going and looking for deep, meaningful meanings around noodles, or basing my dinner choices on the fact that I'm singing about noodles. I can literally, it's a bit like dreams, I suppose. You know, Penelope, you talk about dreams a lot. Like, there are some dreams and they seem weird, but when you actually break them down, you're like, well, no, it's not that weird, because that was triggered by that program I watched that day, and that was triggered by a conversation I had, and it's all symbolism, and it's how your brain sorts it through. So I think it's important to make it, you know, not like it's not gospel for me. And this is the case not just with what I teach, but this is the case with, for me, all spiritual mindset, self-development type things. It always comes down to what you feel the meaning is at the end of the day. And I think that's where so many people get like, they lean too heavily, I think, on some of these principles, and they take it too literally, and it's like, okay, no, I'm living my life by this. The entire point all the way through is that you have the knowledge to know actually what's going on, and you don't need to follow anybody's blueprint, anybody's rules. I just think, like you've just said, music is something that a lot of us just take for granted, and I took for granted for years. And it was only when, you know, that the day my friend died, that song came on. Did I tell the shower story? Can't remember if I told you that story. So I've always known, I've always loved music, and I've always loved singing, but my friend died last March from cancer, and after a 6-year battle. And in the weeks leading up to us losing her, we'd put a playlist together, because her husband had her in hospice at home. She didn't want to go in a hospice, so he'd set it up at home, and he'd got candles burning, you know, constantly, and she was all set up in the lounge, and they were playing the music, and it was all the music that we would listen to when we went out. It was songs that reminded her of her uni friends, like, you know, all, like, loads of us had an input into that playlist. And there was this beautiful moment where, I'm just turning my light down because it's blinding me. There was this amazing moment where he messaged us all, and he said, she's so sick, like they'd upped her meds at this point. She was completely, you know, not with it anymore. But I think it might have been a Kanye song, or it might have been Usher, came on, and she punched the air with her fist. So she was completely out of it, but she's like this. We were like, yes, Nunu. And so it's powerful, right? So the day she died, I got the text first thing in the morning at about 8:30. And the first thing I did, my husband just gave me my space. He got all the kids out, and, you know, he just let me have my moment of, because it's weird when you've watched somebody decline for 6 years, when you get that call that you've been waiting for, it's a bit weird, because it's not massive shock, it's shocking, but you were expecting it. Like, every day we were checking, has it happened yet? Has it happened yet? So when it does happen, you feel a bit like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So I put the playlist on, and I sat in my bed and I had a little cry. And then I thought, I'm going to get in the shower, because I'm going to get on with my day. I'm not going to sit around, and this isn't going to I'm not going to wallow. She wouldn't want that. And I got in the shower, and while I was running the water, I started thinking and almost talking to her in my head. And I was like, you know, we'd had so many conversations about what we thought her journey was, why we thought this had happened, and where we thought she was going to go. And so many conversations about there being a bigger picture, and so much that we don't see. And so when she died, I think in the run up to it, I was kind of going, I think I'll be all right, because I know I'm going to feel her. I just knew I would. So when she had died and I couldn't, it was like, oh my God, I'm in limbo. Like this, I can't feel her. I can't see anything, hear anything. I don't get it. And I started to think to myself, like, so what happens now? Because you've gone wherever you've gone, and I'm here, and I don't understand what happens now. You know, do you move on, or, you know, what happens? And the water was running, and I got in the shower, and the songs were coming on. And as they were coming on, like each one, I was like, oh, I remember, you know, dancing around her bedroom in our pants to this song. And I remember being in the nightclub to this one. And then a song came on, and it really jolted me out of all my grief and my tears, because I was like, I don't know this song as a new song. I'd heard the song a couple of times, but I didn't it wasn't a Nunu song to me. Nunu was her nickname. And so I was like, that's weird. But then I thought, well, it's not weird because so many people had an input into this playlist. Like, it's obviously just a song that someone else attributes to her. And as soon as the music started, I had this overwhelming sense of just like everything just relaxed. It was like a massive exhale, like, you know, like relief almost. You know, when you're worried about something and then you find out it's okay, and you're like, oh, okay. It felt like that. And I was like, I just loved the music as soon as it started, and washing my hair, and I suddenly tune into the words in the chorus, and the song was called I Will Wait by Mumford and Sons. And I was like, at the exact moment, I'm sat there going, what happens now? You're there and I'm here and I don't understand. The words just kept repeating, I will wait for you. I will wait for you. And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, I'm so sad and I'm so okay all at the same time. And it was just this really weird feeling of, God, you can absolutely be in so much grief and be absolutely okay. I just felt absolutely okay. And that was the first time that I was like, oh my God, I just got a message in that music. And then my brain just exploded. And I remembered all the times before that I've either received a message or where I've used music to convey a message. There've been so many times, especially when I was a teenager, like angsty teenager, didn't know how to talk about my feelings. I would sing how I was feeling, and I hadn't realized that that's what I was doing. And it was real energy clearing, like an absolutely like intuitive energy clearing, because I wasn't doing it because someone had said, oh, you should do that to clear your energy, because when you're a teenager, you just don't do that. And so it was just this massive moment of clarity. And I was like, holy shit, music speaks to you. You get messages through music. You can speak your truth through music. And it was just light bulbs. I then got out of the shower, a bunch of stuff happened. A canvas flew off the wall that said Forever Love on it, and I know that was her. I started channeling a message. I don't know if I've got the journal here. I don't think I have. I started writing her a letter, and then it turned into automatic writing. So it was just like my third eye bust wide open, and all of this channeling started coming through. And that's when the bumblebee flew in, which is why I always talk about bees. I've got a bee on my necklace, which is my Nunu symbol. Bees are my sign for her, because a huge bumblebee flew in, and I was like, that's my sign for her, because she always talks about white feathers, and I see those too, but I think she knew in that moment that the white feather wasn't going to cut it. So to come back to what you were saying, well, to pick up a few points really, yes, we take music for granted. I do believe that this is the gift we've all been given. If music is something that you enjoy and that you love and something that moves you, you have the ability to do the same thing. This isn't like a special God-given gift that's come down in a golden chalice just for me. This is anyone that gets music, anyone that loves music and has ever been moved by music is having that experience, whether they realize it or not. And just to pick up what you said as well about some of the songs bringing up, the things that you thought you'd cleared. Well, for a start, I'm not saying you can't clear stuff, because I think you can, but Penelope is probably better equipped to go further into this. But we have like imprints of all our different selves in our field. So there are going to be things that are going to awaken the 7-year-old you or the 12-year-old you. And it could be a song, and it could be, a program, or it could be the smell of something. Smells are really potent and powerful as well. I don't think it means that you haven't cleared it. I don't think it means that you haven't, healed even. I just think it sometimes is just a nod to go, oh, that's how I felt. I remember feeling that way, because certainly I get things like that in songs where I can really remember what I was going through at the time, but I don't make it part of my current iteration, if that makes sense. I can really see it like, oh, that's how 12-year-old Lilli felt, but now I'm 43 and I've got all this wisdom and knowledge, and and then you can do like the inner child work. It's super powerful to work with a practitioner that does that. I got taken through a thing called matrix imprinting once, which is a similar thing, where you go back in meditation and you find that version of yourself and you impart the knowledge you have now. So I don't think you have to worry and go, oh, that isn't healed necessarily, unless it's bringing up a lot of emotions that you can't control. I think, the only sign for me that it isn't healed is if it's impacting my life today. Like if I can't regulate my emotions around it and I'm still triggered by it, then yeah, okay, more clearing to be done. And sometimes that's what this energy work does. It's like doing a facial, it brings all the crap to the surface. I also think whenever we I hate the word level up now because I've said it so many times and so many other people say it and it's starting to sound a bit like bullshit, but I do think we're in like Jumanji. And I think when we are expanding more, often those old wounds will come back around, and it doesn't mean they're not healed. I think sometimes it's just a bit like, woo, do you remember this? Like, we're just checking, you're not going to fall apart. Okay, no, cool. And it's always a choice, so for me, it's always money stuff. My money stuff always gets kicked up again. So I'll suddenly miss a bill and I'm like, what, why is that happening again? Or like, I'll suddenly get a random phone call that goes, oh, we've just realized you owe us £25,000. And it's like, what, why? And it literally is just because I've started to level up. It's just a way that we keep ourselves safe. It's this upper limit thing. If you've ever read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, he talks about that a lot. And it's just because we like what's familiar, and sometimes our humans freak out when we realize that we're changing fundamentally who we've been up to this point. Does that make sense?
And I also think as well that I don't think you, and I don't mean this in a bad way, this is just my perception of it, I don't think that you ever fully heal because we're here to have our karmic lessons. But I think that, let's say it's the first time you've gone through this healing, so it's all really, really raw and things like that. You can only heal at that level because that's all you can cope with at that time. But then maybe a bit further on, it's almost like you think, am I going round in a loop or something? Why, like you said, Nick, why is this coming back up? Have I not healed it? You have at that level where you were there, but now
right.
You're so much more evolved. Mm-hmm. It's coming up maybe in a song or whatever, because it's going, well, actually, let's look back at this now. Like you said, Lily, as who I am today, not who I was when it actually happened. So then you can actually level up, like you said, and go to that next level because you're able to take that on now, and you see it in a totally different perception as well.
Yeah.
Different
reality. I really believe that. I really believe that's true. And I also think like, with that leveling up, it's, well, you've just said it, because you're constantly expanding and constantly, maybe shifting your perception of what things mean. When it comes back around, it's always a choice how you deal with it. Is it going to slap you back down on your ass? Or is it literally, like I say this a lot, I say, our blocks are either things that we run into or they're things we climb up on top of to get to the next level. And it is all just perception. So the big misconception, I think, is that we need to be fully healed. We've all got this bee in our bonnet about, oh, I have to be fully healed before I can be a proper human. I don't remember seeing that written anywhere, that wasn't necessary to live a fulfilled life. And I also think that when it depends what you mean by healing, because for so many people, healing actually for them means cutting off a part of who they were or who they are, which is just natural. When you've gone through some deep trauma or something that was really traumatic or horrible, it's really common to then go, well, I don't want that to be part of me at all. I want to cut it out. But actually, like Penelope said, there's karmic lessons. And for sure, no matter how horrible a situation is, it's made you who you are today. So you're never going to fully let go of that, because you would fully let go of that part of you. And for me, me personally, I think I'm on a journey of just self-acceptance, warts and all. It's not about being fully healed. It's about being fully aware and knowing who I am in my soul and knowing that I'm worthy of love no matter what, you know, and then a constant choice to come back to that place. So I think this is where self-development has maybe gone a little awry over the years, because it became a big thing of, you know, I see people having conversations. There's some really toxic conversations happening in supposedly spiritual places where people are going, oh, that's your shadow showing, and oh, you've got to do more work on your blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, you're only ever who you are in this moment right now. You can only do your best. It was never about perfection. It was never about, you know, getting rid of everything that was yuck and keeping everything that was nice. It was about recognizing that there's light and dark in all of us, and it's all beautiful, and you can balance that all out. And that's how you truly evolve. That's how you truly, I think, survive this world. Because for sure, some of the shit things that have happened to me that I would say are part of my, I always called it my dark side, have absolutely been there for me in future situations when I've needed it. It's become what kept me safe. It's become what allowed me to stand up for myself. It's allowed me to put boundaries in place. So that dark side I was so afraid of for so long and wanting to get rid of is actually a part of me. You cannot deny any part of you. You are beautiful as you are. All the, like, the light, the dark, the lot.
And I actually, if you think about it, I don't know anybody who's fully healed. I think there's a different term. I think there've been people through history who are enlightened.
Right.
But I don't know anybody who is healed, is perfect. There isn't. What is perfection? There isn't. It's that we're like kind of like looking for something that actually isn't out there. We just have to kind of go on our journey and keep it. It is, I know you don't like the phrase level up, but it is, you do keep going to the next level. It's like a different layer. And
yeah,
I think also as well, from what I was saying before, when you look back now, like, so the song comes up and it triggers a memory or a time or wherever, you're in a safe place now. You're not in where you were when it was happening originally. So you can sort of analyze it and rationalize it and then look at it differently, and then almost heal that part that happened then, because you're in a safe place now, and because you've evolved, you've grown.
I think it's
healed.
It always comes back to, it always has to come back to the power is within you. It's yours. So it's not that, oh, I'm hearing a song and that's brought up some memories and then they've made me sad and so therefore I'm not healed. It's, oh, I'm recognizing the emotions that this is bringing up, and now I'm choosing from where I'm at, does this feel like something that I need to work through? Or am I just recognizing that, wow, that's where I was at, and now look where I'm at? And it could be either or, there's no right or wrong. But, you know, again, I'll sort of say it, there's a lot of people that I think are giving their power away to a lot of these spiritual practices. And I'm really keen with the work I'm doing, I'm really keen to empower people and say, yes, music can speak to you, but ultimately you're the one, it's through your lens. You get to decide, what does this mean for me? You might hear a song and go, oh, it doesn't really mean anything. You know, sometimes I'm moved by songs just because the music's nice. It's not because there's any deep, profound message in there that I need, or it doesn't mean anything. It's just the sounds in my ears make my heart happy, and that's what it is. And then there's other music. I had this actually recently. I was sat in Cafe Nero, and they have amazing playlists in Cafe Nero, kind of like acid jazzy type stuff, which I love. And then every now and then you'll go in and it will be this plinky plonky kind of classical piano music. And I was writing in my journal, and oddly enough, I was channeling what I was going to do for my challenge last year. I did a challenge called Singing for Spiritual Growth, and I wanted to brain dump everything that was in my brain. So I started to write in this journal, and I recognized that there were certain songs coming on that jarred me so much I couldn't keep writing. I was like, this is so jarring in my ears and I hate it. I can't even write in my journal. Like, it was really bugging me. And then there were other songs coming on that literally I could have cried listening to them because it was such beautiful sound. And I was just like, wow, from one song to the other. And it's not because that song's good and that song's bad. It's because the ones that were moving me were speaking to me. Somebody else might have been moved by something else that they were hearing. And to me, this is the beauty of music, because it's obviously written and composed by someone with something in their mind. Often it's around an experience they've had or a message they want to convey. But the beauty of it is when you're listening to a song, you put it through your lens. So I worked with someone, I think I said this before, I worked with somebody on a song called Because of You. And this was weird because she asked to sing it. It's about abuse in childhood, like Kelly Clarkson didn't have a good relationship with her dad. And that song is about that. And it's about hearing her mum crying through the wall and, you know, what she went through, etc. So at the time it was like, okay, this makes sense, because with that particular client, they had a similar situation. But as she started to work on the song, we both realized that that wasn't why she'd chosen to sing it. She was singing to herself. She was singing to the part of herself that she hated. And it was like, because of you, I've been too afraid to take that leap. Because of you, I've been too afraid to stand up for myself. Because of you, I haven't let myself soar. And it was so magical when we both had that realization. I was like, shit, you're singing to yourself. She thought she was singing to her dad. I was like, you're not, you're singing to yourself. And it, like, that's where the healing happened, because it was like, you know, there's that amazing saying, wherever what is it, no matter where you go, there you are. Like, you know, like Penelope said, so many of us are trying to get away from who we are, but wherever you go, there you are. You are you. You'll always be you. And your job is to really look at every part of you and shower yourself with love on whatever that looks like. And yeah, it was such an amazing moment in that lesson to have that, because we thought that, you know, it seemed an obvious connection, and then it was like, whoa, no, you're singing to yourself. And then of course she burst into tears, and then I burst into tears, and which of course is very healing in itself. But that's what I love about music, because Kelly Clarkson didn't write it from that perspective, but it spoke to my client in that way. And that's the beauty of music. You can literally listen to it. Like, something I do with people is I say, if you'd written this song yourself, what would it have been about? Never mind what Billie Eilish wanted it to be about, or Christina Aguilera, or whoever. If you had written these words, why would you have written these words? What would it be about for you? So yeah.
I think the biggest song I saw that with was Every Breath You Take.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because what's behind it being written, you should not want it as your wedding dance song, but it is one of the most popular songs to
right.
dance.
Same as
from Sting's point of view, no, it's really not what you should want to have.
So my husband's in a band, and they often get asked to perform first dances, and he was asked to sing Beautiful by James Blunt, which on the surface it's like, oh no, was it Beautiful? Yeah, I think it was. You're beautiful, it's true, right? Sounds like a beautiful song for a wedding, right? Except it's about someone he can't have. It's about, I saw her on the subway or something. It's someone he doesn't know. And the very last line goes, I don't know what to do because I'll never be with you. As he sang the line, you could see people around the dance floor going, oh. What? But I've been known to refuse to sing songs at weddings. I'm such a stickler for lyrics and energy. It has to be right for me. And so I was in a girl band once. Well, I'm still in it. And I don't think we can call ourselves a girl band anymore though, because we're all in our 40s, but still. The lady wanted us to sing Heaven. Oh no, it wasn't Heaven. It was Angel by Sarah McLachlan, which is about suicide. And she was like, it's got the word angel in it. That's nice for a wedding. And I was like, it's about suicide. It's not. That is not the correct song for your wedding. Please let me choose you another one, you know. I mean, she didn't care because she'd just heard the word angel. See, some people don't pick up on lyrics at all. My husband doesn't really, and he's a singer. He's just all about how high is that note and is it going to make me look good? Louis, what are you doing?
Do you know what your laptop is?
My laptop is in the lounge. Louis, can you take her down with you and tell Daddy she's done a poo?
She's done shit.
Yeah, you've got not a shit, a poo. There we go. You've got to go and have your nappy changed, and then you can have Booby. Go with Lilli. There's a good girl. Otherwise, you'll have a sore botty. Go on, Lilli. Sorry, I'm just going to deposit her downstairs. Come on, baby girl.
So was there a song that kept coming through to you more than others?
No, but it's like when you've got the radio on, and you can, there's like, it's only when you start to think about it, like 2 or 3 hours in, and I couldn't have told you what One Single Soldier song was that had been on, and then all of a sudden I feel like something had been on repeat, even though they've only played it once. But it was I can't remember who sings it. Say Something. I don't even know if it's called that. Say Something, I'm Giving Up on You.
Oh yeah.
And it just reminds me of love of my life dying, and how angry I still am about it 12 years later. But I didn't think I was still angry about it 12 years later. But yeah, I think I'm still angry about it too 12 years later. So but I've not heard that song for so long, or have I? And it just hasn't registered, and because I've been a bit more focused on it all, it's really registered. I don't know, because I don't know enough about it. And that's the one time I'm talking about that I thought I dealt with it. I haven't dealt with it because we're so angry. That was one of my major ones. But I think today you'd be proud of me today. You would be proud of me today. So I was talking to somebody at work about tonight, and so they were asking me questions about it, and I said, well, my intuitive song is This Is Me. I said, and the more I think about it, the more I realise that there's that I am that song. And she was going, oh yes, I can see that. She said, but have you ever thought that maybe in some situations you shouldn't be like that? And I just went, no.
Love that.
She said, but it might hurt somebody's feelings. I said, then they need to express that. I said, because I'm not like that. When I don't say things to hurt people's feelings. I said, so maybe people need to express that instead of holding it in. I said, that's generally, I think, my problem with a lot of people. So, but it was just because I just went, no. And I had the look. It was just so funny. And it was like, I'm not going to change my personality for this, that, and the other. I'm not a spiteful person. So if I've said something that you might have taken the wrong way, tell me. So I've decided it's not me.
Yeah.
Because it's not me that's got, people need to be a bit more honest, I think.
Are we done now?
Oh, but yeah, it was that. Is it Sam Smith? I don't know. Is it Sam Smith who sings that? But that was the main one.
Which one was it?
Say Something. I'm Giving Up on You.
Oh, that's A Great Big World. Did she not? Oh my god, must have been a killer fart then. Yeah, it's by A Great Big World and Christina Aguilera. I love that song.
Yeah, it's yeah. No.
Is that the one you were saying? Because I came in at the end. Is that the one you said brings up anger for you still?
Yeah.
And did you say it's because somebody the love of your life had died? Is that what it was? See, that's exactly my point. I honestly feel like there is healing to be had around that situation, but I also think a bit of anger is okay. I think that's to be expected. I don't know what Penelope thinks, but especially the unfairness of it. My best friend's sister lost her fiance just suddenly in the middle of the night. He woke up with a headache. He went to the bathroom and he collapsed, fell in the bath and died. And it was carbon monoxide poisoning. And they had no idea. They were in a rented place in Prague and they'd not kept up with their carbon monoxide checks on the boiler or whatever it was. he just got up and died, and she woke up or went in to check on him, and that was it, done. And that was the love of her life, and she hasn't moved on. She's not met anyone else yet. I'm not saying she won't, but you are well within your rights to feel cheated and angry. But I think there can be a level of acceptance around it, but acceptance doesn't mean it's okay. I don't know what you think, Penelope. I haven't had that experience, but I've obviously had that with my friends, so I can kind of understand it from that point of view. And if I let myself get into it, I can get really upset and angry about the unfairness of it. She was 37 or nearly 38 and the most beautiful soul. And, you know, and this is kind of where all my spiritual beliefs come from, because I have to believe that there's a reason for that. I have to believe there's more than we see, because I don't know if I could navigate this world if I didn't have that faith in something, you know. And that's why I don't actually feel angry about it. I still feel like it's desperately unfair, but I've kind of come to some acceptance around it. But I understand that that's a slightly different situation, because she was the love of my life as a friend, but I get that it's a different thing. That's just how I feel. Like, you know, I think that's one example where it might be too much to ask of yourself to get to a point where you had no anger or emotion around it, but instead get to a place where, yes, it's unfair. Yes, I feel angry, but I also feel a level of acceptance around it in order that I can move forward and live my life. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It's just how you do it.
I do think it's such a personal thing though. And so for me, and again, it depends on you. And I think it also depends on the relationship you had with the person. I was fortunate in that we had a kind of a slow motion goodbye, because we knew what was going to happen over 6 years. Well, as the 6 years went on, it became apparent. So we never had direct conversations about it, but we definitely had conversations. And her main message to all of us was, your life is precious. Live every day. Don't waste it. Don't waste it in resentment. She actually believed her cancer was born out of like resentment. Something awful happened to her as a child with her dad, and she was really angry with him, and she never let the anger go. And she believed the anger had manifested into cancer. And I've heard theories like this where it's unprocessed trauma becomes dis-ease, and she fully believed that. The sad thing was, she got to that understanding, but still couldn't work through the trauma. She was so angry still. She didn't want to work through it. She didn't want to go over it. She didn't want to get to a place of forgiveness around it. And so she just stayed stuck. She refused to read anything by Joe Dispenza, because I was, me and her husband were looking into things, and I was like, you need to read Joe Dispenza. You need to find out about, this quantum healing and this energy release and trauma and stuff. And she was like, I get it. I can't do it though. She just didn't want to do it. And so her main message to us was, every single day of your life is a gift. It's the reason why I celebrate my birthdays. It doesn't matter how old I get. I will celebrate my birthdays. I will celebrate every day I'm alive, because I get to live when she didn't. And any time I get angry that she didn't, it's like, but it is what it is. And it would be more traumatic for me to now waste my chance at living, because I'm so riddled with anger that she didn't get her chance. I almost feel like I have to do it to honor her life. Does that make sense? But it's a super personal thing. I don't think anyone has the right to tell anybody else, you should be like this, you should try that. I wouldn't take it from anyone else. I've literally just found my way through it, and most times I can be okay. Our other friend Nat is really struggling with it, and she's super angry and sad still, and often messages me, and I share with her how I'm feeling, but she doesn't see it the same way. And I can't I can't help her. She'll find her own way through it. It's a super personal journey to be on, you know.
And I think as well as like me as a healer, I don't believe I'm here to fix people. I'm just here to help them on their journey, whatever that is, not what my perception of that is.
Yeah, that's so true. I had a conversation with her, would have been a couple of years before she died, maybe a year before, when one of our other friends' dads had passed away. And he was poorly for a while, but then he suddenly got worse, and then he declined very quickly over a number of months and then died. So it felt sudden, even though it wasn't really. And I remember when I got the message from my friend to say his condition had got worse, I began to pray, and I was halfway through my prayer, which was the normal. I was asking for him to get better. And it was like, please, I see him in health. Like, I see him strong, let him stay, yada, yada. And I literally got cut off mid-prayer by something saying to me, you don't know what you're asking for when you ask that. You don't know what you're asking for. You don't know what that soul's path is. And I had that conversation with Nunu. And I said to her, what do you think about that? She said, I think that's really fucking profound. She was like, that's beautiful. Because it wasn't about please stay, because in actual fact, in his case, to stay would have meant prolonged pain. He wasn't well. He didn't have his life. And for that reason, there was, I hate the word burden, but that's how it feels on the family around when somebody's that poorly. It affects everybody's life. And it was his path to transition at that moment. And that's the belief I've come to. And again, I would never put that on anybody else or say this is the gospel truth. That's my belief, because it makes me feel better. And I think if I was going to advise anybody else that is going through, a period of grief or anger around something like this, it's that question again: what feels good to believe? What would you want to believe? Never mind what you think you believe. What do you want to believe is true? Do you want to believe that when we die, we're done and that's it? Or does it feel better to believe that that soul is on a journey and that they've gone somewhere that you are also going to go at some point? And that, the way I feel about my friend is our connection is a soul connection. The humans were irrelevant. The only thing was my human could see her human. So now I can't see her. My human misses her, but I still feel her everywhere. I see her everywhere. I get bee symbols everywhere. I find white feathers in my bra, weird little things. And a skeptic would go, oh, but that's just a white feather. Okay, to you, it's a white feather. To me, it symbolizes a message from my friend, and it helps me get through my day. Find your version of that, what feels good to believe, and let yourself believe it. Don't get bogged down with, is it realistic? Does anyone else think that? Bollocks to it. Find what feels good and you run with that. Because, I had a conversation at work once when I used to work in a call center, and I got into it with someone who was, he had no faith whatsoever. And he was like, when you die, you're in a box, that's it, the end. And he was like, I think you're stupid to believe that it's anything else. And I was like, well, I might be stupid, but I sleep better at night believing that. And if I die and I end up in a box, it's not going to bother me anyway. I won't know any different if you're right. But if I'm right, you can apologize when I see you. You can tell me I was right all along. But, it really doesn't, I would never call someone stupid for what they believe. It's what and it isn't even what you believe. I've chosen to believe that. It's not, I don't have any proof of it, really, except for the signs and the symbols I've seen that I've decided to accept as little nudges. And sometimes they are quite hard to argue with. Like the day she died, the canvas flew off the wall, the bee flew in the room. I had that weird, the channeled message I got was amazing. And it had about music in there, and it was basically telling me that me and her are working together, and now her job was to go to the other side, and that she's got it on that side, and I've got it on this side, and together we go forward. And I was telling my husband, we were out on a walk because we'd all been locked down. We were out on a walk and I was telling him, and my husband isn't a huge believer in this sort of stuff. He kind of just rolls his eyes and he's like, here she goes. But, you know, my friend had died that day, so he wasn't going to be like that day. But he just smiled. But I was like, yeah, you don't get it. And I was like, Kev, I'm telling you, she's here. I see the signs. And he was like, that's beautiful. And we turned a corner and there was a car parked up on the pavement, 2 wheels on, 2 wheels off. And the number plate was New, N-O-O, and that was her name. And I went, I'm sorry, but you can't, like, he was like, all right, that's pretty cool. I was like, I'm telling you she's here. You know, I went camping earlier this year and my little boy, Freddie, always brings me the feathers when he finds them. He's bought me one today. He's like, Mummy, it's a Nunu feather. And I was like, that's lovely, thank you. We went camping and he came with this whole armful of feathers. He was like, Mum, it's Nunu feathers. And I was like, it's a chicken farm. There are white feathers everywhere. I don't know that it's Nunu. But then I was like, you know, we weren't meant to go to that camping site. Ours got cancelled at the last minute and that was the only one we could get. Maybe it was Nunu, who knows? You know, you can, that's what I mean. You can always find a reason to believe it. You can always find a reason to disprove it. I always just choose to go with what makes me feel good, what feels good, because this is your life. It's your experience. Do you want to live your life believing that they don't go anywhere and that you're not connected? Or does it feel better to believe that you are? Choose what works for you. I know what works for me. And it seems to get, I seem to get supported in that. The more I believe it, the more I lean into that faith, the more signs I see and the more validated I feel. And then the more at peace I feel and the less anger there is, if that makes sense. Penelope's like, yes. I mean, Penelope knows it. Do you know as well, I'll tell you, the day she died, it felt like I got activated. And I'm starting to think that this is how it works. I do believe there are angels that walk on the earth. I believe there are people that they were only meant to come for a short time. And they were here to activate the people that they had the impact on. And Nunu has been the activator for me and for so many people in our circle. And all of our paths look different because of her. She came and she did her job and then she went home, and you'll go home too. And so will I, and so will Penelope, and so will all of us. And I do believe that's how it works. And I just do believe that some people's impact is as big as it is because their time was as short as it was. And that's how I reconcile. That's how I reconcile, you know, children that leave when they're 3 or even before they were even born, you know. How do you make sense of that in the world? That's how I make sense of it, because that experience activates the people that are affected by it in some way, shape or form. And I think it's my job. I think it's my job to help bring peace to people who feel jarred by the journey they've been on for whatever reason, whether it's losing someone or whether they've got ill or whatever it may be. It's helping people get out of that anger and frustration and into acceptance and in a place of, okay, well, if this is part of my journey and I'm fully supported and I'm still connected to that soul, even though their human is gone, then what does that mean for my life? Because to me, I've seen people make empowered choices as a result of shifting their focus around it, rather than being in that cycle of anger where you can't move forward. They get to that place of, I'm still sad it happened, but I'm choosing to believe that it was for a purpose. I'm choosing to believe that it was for my greater good. And now what does that look like? How does that look for me? And that's my journey. You know, now I've literally thrown everything into this business because I feel her with me in it. I feel like it's a soul contract that we share, and she drives from the other side of the veil. I truly believe that. And I feel her often when I'm on these calls. She's right there with me, 100%, laughing at me probably because I'm so woo-woo. She always thought I was a hippie. She was a hippie too. But I bought like this ring the other day, this can you see the stone in it? So I was off to the coffee shop And I suddenly felt such an urge to go into this little hippie shop that we've got in town. And it was literally like, you're going to go in that shop and you're going to buy a ring. I was like, am I? I haven't bought a ring. Well, the only ring I wear is my engagement ring and my wedding ring. And that other ring above it, it's some angel feathers. Somebody sent me that after Nunu died, and I still don't know who. But somebody knew that I was struggling without her, and they sent me angel wings in the post. So I wear it always. I don't buy rings, but it was like, you're going to go in that shop and you're going to buy a ring. This was the ring I felt guided to buy. When I looked into it, the stone that's in it, I think it's called a sunstone. It's the same crystal that I was gifted after she died. We went and chose a piece of jewelry and her husband gave me a crystal, and it's the same one. And I was like, oh, it's a Nunu ring. It's like a little superpower ring. You know, my life feels blessed because I have these beliefs that I chose them first. I don't believe it when I see it. I see it when I believe it. Does that make sense? And I'm like, yeah, what are you going to say?
That's fascinating, because I'm literally sat here, you know, they talk about the musicians 27 club. And then just listening to what you were saying was sort of like, and there's the impact, and then it's done, and there's the impact, then it's done. They're all massively high profile musicians. And I only talk about the musicians because that's where the biggest 27 comes in. I don't know whether 27 is a significant number, but
what is this? I don't know about this.
They've died. So Jimi Hendrix was 27 when he died. Amy Winehouse 27 when she died. So it's the age of 27 when they've died, and there's quite a significant number of them, and they're high profile musicians who had big impacts on people.
Oh my God, that's made me go cold. I didn't know that.
Did you not know that? There's quite a few of them. Yeah.
Is Jim Morrison one of them?
Pardon?
Jim Morrison from The Doors. Because I was in a record shop with my daughter today, and I used to be really into The Doors when I was in my teens, and there was a t-shirt of him right in front of me, and I was like, oh my God, he's literally the most beautiful man ever. And I just couldn't take my eyes off him. And I was like, why am I looking at him? I've not looked at him since I was 16.
I don't know if he is. His past.
It would be interesting to know the numerology.
Jim Morrison 27.
No way.
Janis Joplin 27.
He was right in front of me today in a music shop.
Kurt Cobain 27.
Oh.
Wow.
But they literally call them the 27 club, but it's all to do with their age, that so many only made it to 27.
What's the numerology of 27, Penelope? Do you know? Are you into numerology?
Well, added together it would be 9, but I don't know what it signifies.
That would be interesting to look up.
Hang on, I'll have a look.
She's on it. Well, Nunu was 37. I don't know what that means. Maybe she didn't get the memo. She's 10 years late.
It was just listening to what you were about activating people, and that's all I've got. That's literally all I had popping through my head at the time. It's like, and the people that I don't know the whole of the 27 club, and it's not just musicians, but there's a lot of musicians, and then you think about who they are and who they affected, and it was just like oh, just listening to you there.
Okay, you ready for this? The symbolic meaning of the number 9, so you add the 2 and the 7, gives you the 9. The number 9 is associated with the major arcana tarot called the Hermit. As the name suggests, the Hermit is always going off alone in search of spiritual wisdom.
Love that. It's so true. You know, there's like, for me, I'm super spiritual, but I really like science and facts, and I like things to be proven. Like, I don't love the super wishy-washy stuff if I can't find meaning in it. But to me, so much of this doesn't feel fluffy. To me, that just makes perfect sense to me, that you know, we're all interlinked, we're all connected. This is why my work is so important, because I help people that are at that anxious point, and in some cases they're so anxious that they're on the brink of feeling like they don't want to be here anymore, and it's my job to show them that they absolutely do matter. Like, you just have no idea. There's a song in the musical Wicked. I don't know if you know the songs from that musical.
I see that. I love Wicked.
Oh, so there's a song she sings called For Good. It's a duet that the Alphabet and Glinda sing together, and it's basically the chorus is basically, because I knew you, I've been changed for good. And that's the power that we all have. Like, even this, you know, Nick, I've met you because Penelope's invited me to come in and do this in her membership. Now, because of things I've said to you, you are not the same person, but equally, because of things you've said to me, I'm not the same either. Do you get what I mean? It's, you know, this is why I'm sort of out with this guru paradigm, because the power to move people is a shared thing. There isn't any, I don't believe that people came down on bolts of golden lightning, you know, holier than thou, with more power to impact. I just think that we all have that ability, and it's my job to help people see how they're affecting everyone around them. Every single thing you do and say set somebody on a path, and it can just be the most, you know, throwaway comment that means nothing. You know, like my podcast, when I started my podcast, I used to apologize to people that were coming on because it was so new, and I would say, thank you so much for being my guest. I don't have an audience yet, but I really appreciate you coming on. And I got a lady a couple of years ago now signed up for one of my free calls. And when I got on the line, she was really starstruck. She was like, oh my God, it's Lilli Badcock. And I was like, this is weird. Like, it's only me. You need to chill out. And it turned out that she'd been in an awful place, such a dark space, and her husband had been super worried about her. So he started to look on the internet for ways to help her, because she couldn't get her doctor, you know, couldn't get in with her doctor quickly. It's the same old story. And through his search, he found my podcast. What was cool, because then she was like, I'm such a fan, like, your podcast has really helped me out of a tight space, and I'm not in the dark anymore, and it's because of your guests and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, I love hearing that. And then I said to her, so what, you know, when did you start listening? And it turned out he found my podcast the week I launched it. So someone over in Boston, or wherever they lived in the States, found my podcast the very same week that I put it out, but that I was over here going, this is pointless, no one's listening, why am I bothering? Like, I'm not getting the impact, like, I'm not having the impact I want to have, you know, I'm not helping people. And I was literally helping to save somebody's life, and I didn't know it. And if I'd given up based on my perception, she might not have ever got the help she needed. And I'm not here saying, oh, my podcast is everything. It was one of many things I'm sure that helped her, but that's the point. And I only started the podcast because someone in our town took his own life. And when I heard, he was a dad and their family was beautiful. And I didn't know him well, but I knew him well enough. And I'd always see him at businessy things because he was such a, you know, mover and shaker in the city. And I was so sad when he died, like unbelievably sad for someone that I didn't know very well. It really took the floor out from under me. And I couldn't shake this feeling of, if I had tried harder to get my message out there, maybe he would have realized he didn't have to do what he did. He took his own life because he was in financial difficulty and he couldn't see a way through the shame. And he had a way through the shame. And I was so sad that he didn't know that. And it was that made me go, it doesn't matter how shit your videos look. It doesn't matter if you've got a funny throat or your makeup isn't on right, or if you're in your bra. Like, it's important that you speak what you know, because it's going to help somebody. And it really was the boot up my ass that I needed. But I am different now because I've spoken to you, and it's the same for Penelope and it's the same for you. And we've all had that impact on each other. There is no hierarchy. We've been brought together for a reason. Something about this is going to change part of who we are on some level, and it may be tangible and we might realize it or we might not. But that's why the world's beautiful and amazing, I think.
We'll go and have a look at the 27 Club though now, won't we?
I'm definitely going to read that. I'm going to be all over that shit as soon as I get off this call. I love that. Love
No,
stuff
but
like that.
think about how crazy it is as well, that I'm really sorry that you've both had losses, but had that not happened, we wouldn't be here having this conversation now.
Yeah.
I mean, how mental is that?
Yeah. Yeah. It bonds people. It really does. You know, I met a lady through my choir. Her friend bought her for a trial one night. And she'd said to me before she came that she was going to bring this lady. And she said, I don't know if she'll stay. And all she told me was that she'd been through a really tough time. And that was all I knew. And that's quite common for people that join my choir. They quite often have been through something, which is why they found me anyway. Well, she did the session, had loads of fun. I mean, it's shenanigans from start to finish. So she, you know, had a good laugh. And then we were getting ready to do a gig. And so we started to sing a few of our songs we'd worked on. And one of those songs was Diamonds by Rihanna. And I'd written an arrangement which used a piano version, slow. And then it goes into the main version, which is, it's still not fast, but it's got a bit of a doof, doof beat about it. And it's a bit of a mashup as well. I mashed in Now That We Found Love by, is it Heavy D and the Boys or something from the 90s? Now that we found love. There's just a little moment in there. It is seriously one of my most favorite arrangements I've ever written. It's so moving and beautiful. And I can say that because I don't feel like I did it. Those things definitely come through me. So anyway, we're singing through the songs and then we get to that one. And without any warning, this woman bursts into like uncontrollable sobbing. And I'm like, oh shit, like it sometimes happens and it is emotional. So I was like, oh, bless her, like that's really got her. So anyway, finished singing the song and then we had a break and she came over to me and she was still crying. And she said, that was my daughter's song. She loved that song. Her daughter was 3 and she died of a brain tumor. Oh. And she'd got I think she'd had a brain tumor and then something else happened. So she declined it was like a drawn out process and she just kept getting worse and they lost who she was before she actually died. That's all I can remember. It was something to do with the brain. So then I was in tears and everyone was in tears and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she said, no, she said that song was a gift tonight. She said, especially that arrangement of it. She said, I felt her. And she said, I'm in a club that I would have never chosen to join. But then she said something that literally floored me. For a mother that's lost her baby, I've got Sophia on me right now that's the same age. I cannot imagine. And she said, I'm in this club that I never signed up to be in. But she said, I feel so lucky to have had a love that deep that I'm grieving this much. And I was like, shit the bed. What strength does it take for someone to say, that's how I see it? And she was like, I know my little girl's okay. She said, I see her, it makes me cry. She said she saw her in her party dress with her balloons. And I was like, oh my God, like she was so strong. And it was like, I don't know why she came that night to hear that song. But of course I know now. But every time we sang it after that, we did it for her. Oh. And we had this moment actually in town. It was quite funny because we got asked to do this gig. Well, my choir gets asked to do gigs a lot, and they're often little kind of country fetes where there are like 3 people, like, and 2 of them are my parents, you know. So I had loads of new members, and she was one of them. And they kept saying, "Oh, what's this gig going to be like?" And I said, "Oh, don't worry." I said, "It's on a little stage. We'll probably be in a side street somewhere." It was like a festival in town, but I said, you know, I doubt there'll be many people there. It's usually just our own friends and family and whatnot. Don't panic. Well, when we got there, it turned out to be one of the most visited things Salisbury's ever done. They had a footfall of about 15,000 people, I think. And we were in Fisherton Street and all you could see was a sea of heads for as far as the eye could see. It was like a bottleneck. And they were all like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is terrifying. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. But anyway, we sang Diamonds and that lady sang it with us. And I just noticed as we were singing the song, her friends, she had loads of friends in the audience, and they all one by one started putting their hands up, like for Kiara. And we were like, is this for Kiara? And I think I said a little something at the start, which was a terrible idea because then I couldn't actually sing the song. But the solidarity that I saw for that lady, she was so held, so supported. And like, we did charity events after that, and she would get up and speak about her little girl with such strength. She didn't break like I just did. She didn't do that. She was able to honor her little girl's life. And she was such an example of someone who, of course, must have some anger about that. Like, I don't know how you ever wouldn't, but had found meaning and purpose in her life. And, you know, she's now an ambassador for Julia's House, which was the hospice that looked after the family. And they still support her now. It was years ago, and they still support her even now. And I think it's meeting people like that have, it's taught me that that's a choice you can make. It can't be an easy one, but, you know, it's the choice that I made anyway with when I lost my friend as well. And Penelope's right, you know, we've had this whole conversation now because that's happened. And I think every time I speak about my friend, I honor her, because now 2 more people know about Nunu. Like, everyone needs a Nunu in their life. Do you know what I mean? The fact that her nickname is another word for a fanny is just perfect. She would think that's hilarious.
I didn't even know that. I thought Nunu was like a blankie kind of thing.
Can be. It's also the Hoover from Teletubbies. I think it depends who you talk to. But, yeah, Freddie said Nunu the other day. He was talking about Sophia, and he said something about her Nunu, and I said, you can't call it a Nunu. So call it a Nuni. You can't call it a Nunu. But yeah, I find the whole thing fascinating. And like I say, you know, I might get to the end of my days and find out I was completely wrong, but it won't matter, because I'll have lived my whole life in faith, and I make decisions because I have that faith. And I leap off the cliff edge multiple times, and I let myself fly because I have faith. If I didn't have faith, I'd be under a duvet sobbing these days, probably, like terrified to live my life, you know?
It reminds me of it's a film. I can't say what the film is, and so it's just a scene in a film, and they're in it's soldiers in hospital, and the priest is coming round for last rites, and one of the soldiers says, "No, not for me. It's not what I believe," and then turns over to the other soldier and says, "May God forgive me if I'm wrong."
Yeah. And
it is that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to really bug me all night now what the film is, if I'm honest, because all I can see is the scene. I can't remember what the film is.
I'm the worst one to ask. I literally don't watch any films.
I don't watch that.
Tomorrow at work, somebody will know. Somebody will know.
I read something on I think it must have been on Facebook, probably, a little while ago, and it was a story, one of those little short stories, and I'm probably not going to do it justice, but it was basically that there were 2 guys in a bed in hospital, and they were both terminal, and the one of them was, I don't know, one of them was by a window or something, and he would describe to the other one all the things he could see. And every day he would be like, what can you see today? And he'd be like, oh, I can see, you know, there's boats on the water, and I can see, you know, I don't know, rainbows and clouds and all the stuff. And he would paint this amazing picture. And then when that guy died, the other guy asked to be moved because he wanted to see. And when he got there, all that was out the window was like another building. And he was like, but he hadn't seen any of that stuff, and it was all what he'd seen in his mind's eye, and the fact that that's what got him through the day. And it was, you know, it was a story about you choose what you see when you look out the window, and I loved it. I was like, yes, I would choose to see rainbows as well, 100%.
Yeah, which is what music does. It brings the mind's eye, doesn't it? Well, that's certainly the experience I've had.
It really does. And, you know, and to anyone that's watching this later, because I know it's being recorded and it may be that somebody comes back to this at a later date, I always say to anyone who feels skeptical of this, like, oh, bullshit, just give it a try for a week. Try shifting, try choosing what you believe. Even if it feels like rubbish, just see what happens after a week of choosing to find miracles, basically. You'd be absolutely amazed what life starts to look like for you, you know, because I just think you can always find a reason to be sad, and you can always find a reason to smile, no matter what you're going through, no matter what your past has been, no matter what your situation is right now. You can always find a reason to do either one. And why wouldn't you choose to smile? You know, it doesn't mean anything except you feel a bit better and look better as well. Everyone looks better when they smile.
Everybody smile.
Smile.
Thank you so much for being here, Lilli. And thank you, Nick, for being here again. I can always count on you.
Yay!
I get so much from this, though. It's just the different things. And as you know, Penelope, some months I don't fully resonate, but this month, and I didn't realize how much I miss music. You know, I had a child, I became a Thomas the Tank Engine expert, and because it's something I've been thinking about, and to have these little lists of, you know, days when I'm not feeling it, and it does start with Pharrell Williams, but then there's sort of like bits from when I was 20 odd, and this and that and the other, and it's all those happy little memories, and then I go out to work and I feel better.
Yeah.
And then I walk into work and I'm feeling better, so everybody else is feeling better, and it's become that whole knock-on effect. This month has been, not that I've not got things out of the other months, but it's just brought me right back to music again. So thank you. It's been.
And the thing is, with the masterclasses, there will be months that won't resonate with you yet because you're not ready to hear that message.
No, because it's my heart chakra, and we're not doing that.
Yeah, but you can go back to them when you feel ready, or, you know, that's the way that I see it, that they're always going to be there, and people can pick and choose what they pick up. I'll just tell you a quick story about what happened to us tonight. So it's funny that Lily's been talking about sort of making different arrangements of music and things like that. And we're in the car. I can't even tell you the day I've had today with this uniform. We went out at 10 o'clock this morning, and I literally walked in at 7:45.
Oh.
It's just been like, but no, we've had a lovely day, but it's been intense. So we're coming back on the way to this call. So we're coming back from our final stop, which was bra fittings at M&S, and the lady had double booked, so I was getting stressed. And we're in the car, and Charlotte, and this song came on, and I couldn't place it because it wasn't the original version, it was a cover version, and I was like sort of getting every few words or whatever, but then the chorus hadn't kicked in. And just before the chorus kicked in, Charlotte goes, "Well, summer's well and truly over now, isn't it?" And I went, "Wait for it." And then it goes, "It's not over, not over, not over, not over yet." And then she went, "No way."
Brilliant. I love that.
And so we're maybe getting an Indian summer or something, I don't know.
Oh, please say that's true. I'm here for it. I'm about to write a letter of complaint, I tell you.
Did you see me? I've put a blanket on, I'm cold.
I've got one under here as well, though Sophia climbed up now, so she's my blanket.
Oh.
I was in Cafe Nero the other day, and I was messaging my friend who did the retreat with me a couple of years ago, and we were talking about, I was like, I want to do it again. I think it might be time, because obviously we're sort of easing out of our lockdown situations and stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then the song that came on over the tannoy was, I don't know if you know the song September Song. It was my September song, had me laughing so long. And that was one of the songs I played on the retreat. Every morning I would put chilled out acoustic tracks on, and that was one of them. And so I messaged her and I was like, Cafe Nero says I should do the retreat, because look. I just love it. I do love it. And it's such a random song. Like, honestly, it's not a super well-known song, especially the acoustic version. The fact that it was the exact version as well. I was like, yeah, songs follow me around.
I keep hearing the Pina Colada song. Maybe I should go on holiday.
Should
Yeah.
probably have a drink. Yeah, I think the universe is saying have a drink. Uniform stressed you out.
Right,
Pina
ladies.
colada.
I'm going to have to go and meditate, but it's been a lovely evening with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I've loved it. Thank you for having me this month. I've loved hanging out.
Thank you for being here. And Nick, because you're the only one here yet again, would you like to know what September's masterclass is? Because we're moving up to the third eye.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this will resonate with you or not, but it's a lady from America. She's called Jeannie Street, and she's a Reiki master, but she's also a medium as well. But she specializes in angels, so it's all about intuition and your third eye and clear. And she teaches how to clear the third eye and stuff.
I want to do it.
Oh, you could do it.
How do I join your membership? Send me a link.
I will. So I hope you enjoy that.
Yay.
So thanks, Lilli. Lots of love,
Thank you.
Lilli.
I would
Thank
do
you
it
very
back but she's on my hand. I can do half a heart. She's on my other hand.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
My love.
Thank you.
Lots
Bye.
of love.